welcome to our 92nd episode of Gorilla Radio. I'm Joe Caprino. I'm Mike Reiser here. All good
Man, we
with
had to do
each other?
something cool for the 100th episode. We're creeping up on it.
Yes, we are. Uh, excited and that going. Comment coming through. Um, welcome back. How was the summer? I guess.
Good. Not as bit. I mean, we took the spring off in softball. I mean, everyone got to take the spring off. It sounds like, and then we've been playing a lot of softball, which is good. It's exciting for the girls. Kind of a little bit getting back to normal.
Yeah. Does school starting or school has started? Going. Eric Spikes in the chat room. I got my chat working again, so looking good. Yeah, definitely starting to feel a little bit more normal. Started some matches this weekend. Started this week. My dog decided to come downstairs. Squeaky toy. Yeah, so it feels a little more normal. Wrestling's going, and it's going to be a very interesting season to say the least.
Yeah, it was good to see. I mean, follow some of the stuff on track. Some of the guys were going. I know Warren Central, Perry Meridian, those guys, Jeffersonville, and Franklin community were, wrestling on a football field. It looked like, which is pretty nice. Kind of a cool event.
Yeah, they were. I think they were on the tennis courts. It looked like. So yeah. Let's see. That should help you out. I think you can hear me now. Can you hear me now better?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
So yeah.
yeah, but excited to get everything going. The magazine came out great. I mean, obviously that's always something to look forward to. Right around the corner, and then had some guys do really well. Super 32 who do well at some of the other stuff that was leading up to that. Indiana Matt's tournament ran great. I don't remember what the show was before or after that, but a lot of good matches there. So it's been super exciting.
Yeah, it's
A
been
little bit of wrestling we're getting right now. Really exciting.
yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone was getting their wrestling in during the fall, which was nice, and it was just like everyone was going anywhere they could to get matches and kind of get as ready as possible. And we're one of the few states that are actually running right now, which is pretty impressive. Um, I know what Illinois shifted to like April through May, and Michigan's paused right now. I think all their sports. Ohio's still on track to start, but they usually start like December. So um, they are like maybe not for another 2 weeks of actual competition. So they're kind of, I don't know what Kentucky's doing. I'm not close enough there. What's going on there? I haven't kept up on that. So it's very interesting to see. So I'm hoping we can keep going and have as normal of a season as we can.
Yeah, and I think some of these bigger tournaments early on have kind of set the table for what needs to be done to have these events going forward. Obviously, you ran into some snags and were able to work that out. I know they did one in the region, the King of the Ring. They did that and was able to get that going. Preseason nationals went, Super 32 went. They did the event who's number one. Well, it wasn't as big like crowd wise, but they still were able to get that in.
Yeah, no, it was neat to see. Jesse obviously did pretty well for himself as he usually does. That was pretty.
Yeah,
He's had a pretty good spring or fall. I mean,
yeah, not bad.
yeah, had a pretty good match at IPO where it went to overtime and very. It was a close takedown there on the edge and got to take down. Kid from Arizona came and wanted to wrestle him, so that's pretty neat. And then went to who's number one and won two barn burners, and then actually just wrestled last weekend was the UW juniors and was the highest placing high school kid. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, beat some really tough kids there too. Some good. I mean, some of those guys, obviously are a couple more household names, but some of the guys that aren't, you can kind of look at their profiles and see, the level of accomplishments that they had done already, which was really cool.
Yeah, a lot of college kids, and I mean, they weren't like super, all American level guys, but that the one kid he lost to Ragusan He's had a pretty good. He was runner up at the senior nationals just a month ago, so he's had a pretty good fall himself. So I mean, that wasn't a bad loss, and that guy's been in the college room, and Jesse's still. He technically isn't a UW junior, which is 17 to 20 years old. So that's what makes it even more impressive. Next year, he'll be actually a true UW junior. So that should be interesting to see if he can make a world team, because he should have made one this year. And
Yeah, Super 32. You had, Seltzer, wrestled really well. I thought he had probably one of the better matches overall, especially with a guy coming off that had all that hype coming from who's number one. Zeke wrestles him there, wrestling to the death. It was really good.
yeah, that was a Zeke had a real good match there, and kind of a couple interesting calls there in the middle of
Yeah,
that match that um, definitely could have made it a lot closer. And I mean, he took him down like 3 times, which that dude's Ayala is pretty
yeah,
tough, and that was pretty impressive. And then I guess the story of the fall was, and that's not just in Indiana; it's the nation is Christian Carroll.
yeah, yep.
That was
Co-
he's had a good fall.
Yeah, not only that, but a couple. You know, he's kept it interesting, to say the least. There's been some, the rumor mill, not from them directly, obviously, but I think we've heard that he's going to go to a couple different high schools, but it sounds like he's at Penn, and
Yes.
Penn's, got some guys that are going to help build around him there.
Yeah, definitely. Penn. So I mean, they always do a good job, and they got a few new people this year in their lineup, and we'll be talking about that later. So Pete's dog was trying to attack me. Uh, yeah. So yeah, Carroll had a real good year, real good, actually, real good fall,
Oh,
and kind of we knew he was good. I mean, we knew I mean,
yeah.
he was what like early on we ranked him as one of the top 3 or 4 freshmen, and
Oh, yeah. Even after the injury at the end of the year, we were, you're still ranked pretty well. I mean, obviously, it's easy to forget, guys that are in the mix like that. Like, I think a guy like Littell, who dealt with some injuries and had some transfer stuff where he was a one-time champ. And I think like when we did our list of like top seniors, even his senior year, he was way up there just because of how good he was.
yeah, yeah, not yeah. So he's gonna be good. Obviously he's starting the season ranked number 1, um, and that's without even having a varsity match, which is pretty impressive. So that's gonna be very interesting seeing him come out, having a full season. Obviously, it looks like he does spend some time in the weight room, from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
He's pretty big, and definitely he made an impact this year. So I'm kind of excited to see where he lands and see. Obviously he came in, he was unranked in September, and all of a sudden by November he's ranked 2 or 3 in most publications, which is that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, you win a tournament like that. That's obviously a very prestigious tournament. You got a lot of top guys there, and you can go out there and compete. I mean, obviously Evan Bates was in that same weight class, and Evan Bates is, a really good wrestler who's highly regarded. Just committed to Northwestern, which is great not only for the wrestling aspect but also his education. So you can win a weight class like that with a guy of that caliber. Like for just the people that follow Indiana, that guy's the real deal.
Yeah, he outplaced Bates. He outplaced the one Ohio kid that was that who's number 1 the week before, too. So I think that weight class kind of just fell apart, and Carroll just kept plugging away, just doing what he taking out the next guy in front of him. So that was pretty. I mean, that was pretty neat to see, watching it, from home and stuff. So, um, yeah. So, what's I guess there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've had some matches, not too many, but I know people were kind of a little bit slow. I know it's been quite an. I mean, we were talking beforehand about kids getting quarantined and all that stuff. It's gonna be it's gonna be pretty hard on our rankings, both you and Dane, especially Dane, because
Yeah.
I know the lineup we're gonna be throwing out on Tuesday when we wrestle the fighting Panthers. is not going to be a lineup that you will see very often. I hope not. We're
Yeah.
patching together kids that have enough practices and all that, and then you're like, oh, we had one kid got dinged, or they got put in the queue, as we call it. Uh, early last week is like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And that was right where we're kind of thin at this point with quarantines and practices. So that's been quite fun.
There's been a lot of years where you get that I lost that match because I'm sick, and now those guys won't be in the lineup, and you can't really say that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
Um,
mean, it's a 3 week. I mean, if they get, that's the thing. If they get quarantined, you're basically out 3 weeks. You got 2 weeks of the quarantine, and then you have to make up 4 to 6 practices. So, that's gonna be. I just know that we've been on virtual learning, and I know a lot of schools are, and now we're starting to get everyone back from quarantine, and then we're supposed to go back starting a week from Monday. We're supposed to be going back to in person. So I'm just afraid that as soon as that happens, we're just gonna have another wave of 10+ kids in the queue.
yeah, I don't think it's as much like the contracting is like you said, like the kids getting quarantined and the contact tracing, you lose that, which is unfortunate. You don't want to but that's the world we're living in, and luckily IHSAA is going to go forward with the sport as of right now. Like they, obviously they with football, and they've run into some like hiccups here and there, but it's just a different world. I think I talk about this all the time with my friends and things like that. Like you almost become like conditioned to like going to work now, or but not now, but before, like, oh, I got a cold, am I going to work? Now you really can't. Like you go in and you get everyone sick, or you don't know. So it's kind of a weird situation, but that's kind of how you've been conditioned. I know there's people that like never miss school. I mean, there was a kid whenever I was in school, he never missed school all the way from kindergarten through, which is nuts to me.
Jeez,
Because I'm
yeah.
trying to miss as much school as I can. I'm like counting days. Like, so if this is 6, I can miss 6, right?
Yeah, Mr. Kraus, I believe, and I'd have to double check since I don't have it in front of me. If you miss 10 practices, it is you got to make up 4. More than 10, I think you have to have 6 practices. So basically, if you're out 10, so we're gonna start now calling all of our practices optional, so that we don't no one ever misses any practices. I'm kidding. I'm very much kidding.
That's
If
the
you're watching,
loophole, man. You just gave it out. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Um,
no, yeah. We were trying to figure out everything. I know one of our kids is going to be one practice short to be eligible on Tuesday. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And we had 3
is it?
practice. Go ahead.
Do you have to like make up days, or can you like, let's say you're like, hey, we're running a 2 a day. Like, could you do like 2 and get them back in? Like if you did a morning and an afternoon.
No, only one day. It's a 1 day thing. So for practices, you can't do Monday or Fridays or Sundays. I
My,
mean, and then I know we
my
had
IHSA.
yeah, we had a couple weeks ago when they when I went. I can't speak right now. When we went to virtual, we couldn't practice Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. If we'd have had 1 or 2 of those practices, we'd have a totally different lineup. we so it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So yeah,
Kind of. I mean, kind of good for some of the kids on some of the deeper teams. I mean, obviously the teams that don't have a lot of depth, it's not that's never good to lose anybody. But like some of the teams that are a little bit more, have that depth. Like we always talk about Warren Central or guys. Those guys will be able to get some more matches in on the varsity level and things like that, which would be pretty cool.
yeah, that's definitely, I talked to a couple kids. I go, hey, this might be your only chance. Take advantage of it. Go out there and wrestle. I mean, not a lot of times I would expect some of these kids to be in the varsity lineup, but I mean, it's next man up at this point, and
Yeah,
let's do what we need to
silver
do.
linings, man. We can't
Yep.
look at it half. How you look at this glass, half empty, half full.
Yeah, so it's gonna. I mean, I know we have our first match Tuesday against Prairie Heights. I know a lot of teams are starting to ramp up, and things are getting canceled here and there. And I know that my little fun schedule feature kind of. I'm kind of. We're gonna try to keep it updated, but I'm not very good at that right now because so many things are getting canceled, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to keep up with. So we do have a link on there. If you look in the top menu, there's a link that will say this week. It's under the homepage. and we'll have this week's matches. So at least from what I have, so it might not be totally correct, but it'll be a little bit of a gauge of seeing who's wrestling this week. So you guys can check that out. So
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, like we're living like in a different time where like things are changing, but like some of the bigger tournaments have already been canceled too, which is unfortunate. Like some of the things that people look forward to, I know, like obviously, a lot of teams have to like kind of minimize the amount of teams that are going to these events. But like Al Smith is one that has been canceled. I think the Tricost's been canceled. The Harvest Classic went to a dual format, so definitely one of those things where some of these bigger in-season ones, they're not going to be able to have as many people there. And I'm sure even like I don't know how you guys are doing. I know some schools are doing like parents, like how you guys did at Indiana, like the IPO, where it was like you get like your parents can go and then go from there. So I think it's an opportunity for some streaming services to send it out. Maybe some more student. I know we talked a little bit. Like Brownsburg has a student like a class that does some of their stuff. Maybe they can come out and do some live things and get some like more views to those guys.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I know Carol was broadcasting volleyball. I don't know if they did right could do cross country, but they did their football games and even like freshmen and JV games, which is good. So yeah, that's I know people are asking already. Where I do not believe we're supposed to have fans this week. So that'll be weird. That'll be weird wrestling a match and just hearing the silence. I mean that's the thing. We're watching the flow cards and all those other cards that are online. Those are watching those are kind of interesting because you don't have the fans. I mean, yeah, that Burrows and Valencia match. I'm like, man, how cool would that be? Just the crowd just go nuts. How.
Oh yeah,
So
that was a good match.
yeah, that was awesome. So yeah,
Man, I did not think Valencia was gonna be that much bigger than JB.
yeah, yeah, he was a lot bigger, and that was an awesome match. That was a great match. It was fun to watch. It'd have been a lot better if we if you could have been in person there. That's hopefully we can start going to matches soon. I definitely would have loved to go to. Heck, I'd have gone to Austin, Texas for Who's Number One. I've never been there,
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to go to Austin, Texas too, man,
yeah.
to watch softball.
Yes, nice. Yes, so yeah, so kind of. I mean, I'm just excited to finally get a little bit of normalcy going on. That first day in practice, it felt good to be in the wrestling room. Um, and it's just it's a good escape for our kids. I know the kids are have a lot on their plate and they're trying to do everything they can, and it's not easy on them. And wrestling's a nice escape to just beat up on people for 2 hours and not have to think about
I mean,
anything else.
are you guys taking a lot of different precautions in the wrestling room? Like, is
Uh,
there like a lot of changes? Like, are you guys, let's say you have like a group of three, is like one person have to wear a mask when they're not in there? Things like
um,
that.
we're wearing masks as much as possible. During warm ups, during stretching, if we can, when we're having a 3-man group, we try to. But it's so usually we go quick enough goes that by the time they get it on and they're gonna have to take it off. We've basically you have to keep track of who wrestles who, so we're not usually you have the room where you just like you have drills where you just keep going with different people, and now we got to be a little more cognizant of that so we don't go as many big groups. We try to keep guys together as much as possible and not have to record. Oh, Caprino went with this guy and this guy and this guy. Like, oh, geez, that'd be
Yeah.
that's just. I mean, that's the only thing that's kind of, and we just got to watch out for that and make sure we record it and make sure no one gets sick. And if they're not feeling good, don't come to practice. And I know we had a kid this week that it's like, I have a little bit of the sniffles. Should I come? I was like, let's take a couple of days off. It's not going to hurt anything. You have enough practices. That's just not, it was like one of the hardest things you do is tell a kid not to come to practice.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's, like I said, like you're conditioned to go and when you're sick. Like how many times have you heard a kid like, oh, like he had a fever but he pulled it out for the team? Now you really you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
or times where those things have happened. I mean, you can. Like I'm not telling you how to live your life, but you really shouldn't. But
Yeah. That's going to be, yeah. So kind of, I mean, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, lineups. are going to be just so up and down, for teams, especially the smaller teams, smaller schools. And I know I know we lost some kids because of COVID. They were like their parents didn't want them to wrestle. I know we had a very high ranking administrator's son that was on the team that he didn't want him wrestling. So that was kind of disappointing because he's a good kid and fun to have in the room. And it's like one of those things that, oh, how many kids are we losing? And as even thinking, we have some kids that are in quarantine. How many of them are just going to say, nah, I've been out for 2 weeks. I don't really want to come back. That's going to be hard for the kids and hard for the coaches, teams, to try to, lure a kid that's already on the fence to come back, after a 2 week hiatus and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah, that was one of the things I had talked to one of the coaches that were doing virtual learning. He was like, "Yeah, we really can't, beat the hallways and get kids out like we normally do. Obviously that's not a problem at like some of the bigger programs where they kind of already have an idea of what their lineup's going to be. But some of the teams that are still recruiting guys out of the hallway, like, hey, you're small. Like, why don't you come out for wrestling and try it? There's just not really that option. It's tough to tell. The camera adds 25 pounds as we
yeah. Well, half the kids don't even put their cameras on during virtual learning. I found that out real quick when we were doing some like virtual like workouts and stuff, and the kids weren't even put their cameras on. They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Put your camera on."
Man,
So
I'm gonna tell you, if you guys think this show gets off and runs smooth, I couldn't get my camera on either, so I'm not gonna trash anybody.
well, you got a
We're
new
supposed to be at 8 on the nose. That was on me.
you got a new computer, so you had to log in and get all that stuff set up. So
Had to
yeah,
remember the password, and then I put the password in. I had to change it, and it was the same password I had. And I'm like, why wouldn't it sign in? Man, this is ridiculous.
yeah. Um, so I guess that's enough of what the season's gonna look like. I will say that the IHSA did put in in the bylaws that the commissioner can change the seasons. They could basically what they could do is they could shift our season to March through May or whatever. They can change anything they want with the season basically during a health emergency or whatever, extenuating circumstances is kind of what it said. Um, which is very interesting that I think they're putting that in there just in case things do get worse. And um, I think we will. I'm pretty confident we will have a season, at least a state tournament, a completion to our season in some form or fashion. Just because I know they didn't have basketball last year, and they're going to do everything they can do to have basketball. And if they cancel wrestling and swimming and all the other stuff, I think they'll look pretty bad. So I'm holding out hope that that's the reason that we'll have a complete season. So to people out there,
I think we
stay
will.
positive, stay positive. I think we're starting our season, which is better than. I mean, we might be the only one going right now. I would be very surprised if we weren't the only one going.
Yeah.
So
Obviously this week coming up, we're gonna have football state championships, which is good too.
yeah,
A lot of good football going on. A lot of good wrestling teams with some good football teams. So that's
yeah,
pretty exciting.
yep. So yeah, there's a lot of good guys. It's always fun to watch football games and see those names you recognize. And I always like going over the all state and like all conference lists. I always like the SAC obviously because Carol's there and looking, just going up and down the list and seeing, oh, that's a wrestler, that's a wrestler. And even seeing, from all the schools, it's crazy. So there's a correlation there. If you play football,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you wrestle and play football, you're usually pretty good.
I know we said it before, but obviously Hobart's having a good run, and they have a ton of kids that wrestle and play football.
Yeah, was it Center Grove is in the finals?
Center
Hobart,
Grove's really good.
yeah, Center Groves are real good. I don't even know who the um, uh, South Adams made the finals, and they have some football players,
Yeah.
wrestlers. I know Christian Somerset's a stud. Um, that's there. So, oops, I clicked the wrong link. Here's the. I don't even know the.
Westfield's always pretty good. And I'm sure they have some bigger guys that are pretty good. They're playing Center Grove. Hobart around Collie, obviously Ron Collie has a lot of success. Um,
Let's
yeah,
see.
like you said, South Adams,
South Adams.
Zionsville, Cathedral. Obviously, Cathedral always does a good job.
Yeah, Hobart and Ron Colley. I mean, that'd be a good. I'd like to see that duel. That'd be a good
Yeah.
wrestling duel. Westfield Center Grove. That'd be another good duel. And then you got South Adams, Zionsville Cathedral, Zionsville. I mean, that should be some good football games. So if you're not wrestling this weekend, check it out. Guess we'll move on. I think that's enough for talking about what potentially will happen with the season. Tuesday, there's two big events. Number one, it's Carroll versus Prairie Heights, the battle for the pitchfork.
Is that what you guys really have? A pitchfork?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe we should. That'd be kind of funny. I'm surprised.
would.
I'm surprised Smith's not in here. He'd probably chime
Are you
in.
guys rivals or what? Smith's probably streaming this live.
Yeah,
I seen that he was going back from the duel.
yeah. No, he. No, I mean we're not rivals. This will be the third year I think we wrestled, and we picked them up a few years ago when we had to add two duels, and I know they're gonna usually put in a full lineup. Obviously, this year they have some kids that got hit with the Q, so they're gonna put up kids that are scrappy. Be good for. It's always a good first duel because they're gonna come at you and punch you in the face and try to throw you, and keeps our kids on their toes, and they have a great tradition. So yeah, this is our third year wrestling them. So other than that, on Tuesday you got Penn State has a card going on the Rockfin. That's a kind of like a paid YouTube type thing where it's $10 a month, but it's got some really cool matches. Joe Lee versus Zach Hartman. Hartman was I think he wrestled for Drexel. I just looked it up. He's like, say what?
Did you say Bucknell or no?
Bucknell, yes. He was an NCAA qualifier for them. You got Nick Lee versus Brandon Wright. Yeah, the Brandon Wright, that is a two-time state champ, two-time NAI national champ. So that should be a real good one. Wright hasn't been on the mat for a while, but I know he's been training, and that should be interesting to see two Indiana legends. And then Reese Humphrey gets to wrestle Zane Rutherford. Humphrey's gonna let it fly, so that should be kind of fun to watch. I'm hoping we can.
And he's been coaching also, right? He's like a pretty high level coach.
Yeah, he's at the New Jersey RTC at Rutgers and Princeton.
Pretty good.
And he's doing pretty well there. So that's going to be kind of neat to see Humphrey. Humphrey he still likes to compete everywhere, every once in a while. So it's good to see him. And he's going after our number one guy right now. So that should be kind of fun to see. It kind of interesting if he has a good tournament. Do you think he might try out for the Olympics? I mean, that'd be kind of fun to see. I mean, never hurts to have another Indiana guy on a card.
That's a cool card though. I mean, those like some matches that like the Nick Lee, Brandon Wright. That's like one of those like, oh man, like that's something you would like to have seen. And Brandon Wright's always been a guy that goes out and finds competition, even in high school. He was in some really tough weight classes, and Nick Lee obviously the same way. So that should be exciting. Both those guys like offense.
Yeah, and Sarah Hildebrand, I think, has a match. I think there's a Wisconsin's doing the same thing. Yeah, they're doing the same thing on Rockfin also. Sarah Hildebrand's wrestling Alyssa Lampy. Almost forgot about that one. That's a similar type card. That one's going to be a little bit earlier, 6 p.m. I think I guarantee I'm going to miss that one. But Bryce Meredith, Seth Gross is the headliner matches there. But it's kind of neat to see these cards being put together. They're kind of like fantasy matchups in some places. You saw Bubba Jenkins wrestled Jason Nolf and stuff like that. So
man, we should do that. Let's start setting some of that stuff up. Who wants to be the first matchup?
Yeah, heck. I mean, if we don't have a season, maybe we'll start doing
posters from the board.
Yeah,
we'll do a one night only $25 live feed, and we'll just do everybody from the board posting.
Yes, yeah. We can maybe get the general versus Caleb. We finally get that match going.
Yeah. So, the main event, we'll put everyone that Joe's ever had a problem with on the board in a paper bag, and we'll pull a name out.
Nice.
Just ought to be ready.
Yes, just be in the crowd, be ready. Yeah, so should be yeah, it's kind of neat to see those cards. I know well, Hildebrandt was supposed to wrestle in Iowa a few weeks ago and had a medical emergency. Jeez, I gotta fix that. Um, but I think she sounds like she was something fairly minor. Um, but
Man, she's been killing it though, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
she usually competes like once a week. I mean, every other week. So
it's pretty amazing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that I believe that she lost at the semi-state her last year, right? She was semi-state her senior year or junior year, one of the two. And a lot of people that ends it, but she's really taken off and done some really big things.
yeah, guys, you should be able to see that this week thing. I fixed that. There's a permission issue. Anyway, yeah, yeah, she usually competes a lot, and I'm
Nick
sure.
Krause for Go School Dads. I love it. Let's get that one too.
Dude, we might have to bring a cage in for that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, any guys, Kayla wrestled last week on the flow card, looked real good. It's just neat to see familiar names wrestling and stuff. So I'm kind of it's just wrestling is going on in some form or fashion. The NAIA is going pretty strong here. And speaking of, uh, Indiana Tech and Trine both had their first women's matches last week, which is pretty neat. Monumental day, so that's pretty neat to see them compete. And I think Indiana Tech had a couple duels yesterday. Um, almost almost got their first win, lost like 25-23. So I think they're starting to. They've recruited. Tech has recruited girls from like 15 states or something, all to come to Fort Wayne. But I mean, it's Fort Wayne. Who doesn't want to come to Fort Wayne?
I'm going there in February, man.
You're coming to the semi-state, right?
Nope, the week. I think it's 2 weeks after. Depending, who knows? Maybe I will. They might. If we're going right back to session one,
Yes, yes,
if they bump the semi-state 2 weeks, I could be there.
yes. That would be, man, missing a East Chicago Maryville semi-state. That'd kill you. And have to come to Fort Wayne. Nice, spacious backs on their seats. They're comfortable. They got real good concessions.
Oh man, those guys take care of me out there. I'm not now that it's switched to East Chicago. The Maldonados do a good job running that thing. I'm not even trashing it.
Yeah. So no.
But back to the women's thing that you said they recruited from 15 different states, but I don't know how many. Like with being a young program, you can go get girls that want to continue to compete, and obviously have Sarah Hildebrandt and Kayla Miracle, who's done it at a high level coming out of Indiana. And then you can grab, Indiana's obviously done a good job with their state tournament. They're which I hope that eventually will become, an IHSA sponsored event.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's been neat to see. I'm glad to see those teams are off the ground and running this year, and they're actually. I think the guys team had a duel this weekend, also, so they've been wrestling. It's been nice to see something going on. Speaking of the girls, I know we posted it on a couple of different places. We do have a shoot. I don't have one of those. Miss Gorilla Award this year, just so all the girls they get. We have a Mr. Gorilla and a Miss Gorilla Award. Same basic trophy. It's kind of a male, but it's a pretty cool trophy. So got those ordered. Those are in stock. So ready to give them out this year to the best senior girl wrestler, and that'll be voted on. We'll get a contingent of people to vote on the girls, and it should be pretty neat to have our first, big award like that. I'm kind of excited
Yeah.
to see that.
I mean, just to kind of the same thing. It's like, look how far, it's coming along,
Yeah.
I think a couple of years, what is this, the fourth year that they've had, the IHSWCA has done the women's wrestling event.
Yeah, this
Where
one.
I think the first year it wasn't as like popular as the second year, the third year. Now, obviously it's getting that recognition, which is really amazing.
Yeah, a lot of girls. I mean, I know some of I talked to a few coaches that have been there for a few years, and they said the first year it looked like a really bad JV meet, and now they're starting to see the progression, and I think this was the fourth year, so they really see the progression of the girls and the technique, and they're not just pulling these girls out of the hallway and throwing them on the mat and they're placing third at state. They're actually have to work. And like I know there's some girls that were returning champs that got didn't win last year, so that tells you there's some kids that are some girls that are training real hard. And I think we had I, I think we have a real good young group coming in that are maybe eighth grade freshman group. Um, I know Jason DeLuise. I totally probably butchered his name. He's really heavily involved with that with the ISWA, and he said last year they had a lot of girls at Fargo. And he said wait till next year, should have been this year, and we might have 15, 20 girls going. And obviously it was canceled, so I'm kind of curious to see how many
Well,
girls are doing it.
I know like one of the better female wrestlers from Northwest Indiana. She ended up going to Pennsylvania to wrestle her high school, right?
Yep.
And which she's a girl that's competed at a high level and has been in that room. I know guys that have going into high school or haven't been in high school yet that's wrestled against her and said like she would be right there in the rankings and that she was really tough. So unfortunately, for us as a state that we lose that, but I think that's better for her career. Like go there and compete on a national scale.
Yep. They keep stealing all our good guys. I'm gonna have to have a talk with Mr. Green about about taking all our guys and girls. So, yeah. So that's kind of I didn't even know that, and yeah, that's good for her to. And that I mean, this especially as for a girl, that's probably a pretty good avenue to take if you're looking to wrestle at the next level, and actually more than just the next level, you're looking to wrestle in the Olympics.
Oh
So,
yeah,
um, I
like
mean,
that's
yeah,
I mean that's what those girls are looking towards, right? Is like the Olympic level stuff. Like you had to be really serious and take that while it's still growing. Like and like I said, like Indiana's had a very strong showing so far. Sarah's done a nice job and Miracle's done a nice job.
yeah. And then you had oh geez, what's her name from Yorktown? Shoot. Uh,
Uh, uh, Elena Boyd,
yeah,
right?
Lara
Was
Boyd.
there?
Yeah, yeah, she's doing pretty good. So kind of, I mean, we've had a real good history with girls, which is good, and even geez, I'm totally butchering names. And I will figure this out in a minute. Creeb. Um, shoot, she was one of the first girls that did it. Um, let's see. It was shoot, what's her name? Katie Kriebel or Downing.
Oh yeah,
She was. I mean, she was doing this in '99, wrestling at the World Championships and stuff. When it was really, really, really new. And she's coaching at Pendleton Heights now and stuff. I mean, you have heard roaming around the state, and people don't realize that she was like literally a world medalist. So walking around this, coaching and stuff, and was actually one of the pioneers of wrestling in the, you know, in the country for girls wrestling. So that's kind of neat to see her doing that kind of stuff and still heavily involved and kind of, at least semi quietly, it seems, still coaching and doing that stuff. So, moving on, since we've already been going for a while, we've had quite a few transfers. I guess that's something we need to definitely touch on this
yeah.
year. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's some more that come through. Um, that's one of those things that we don't. It's going to be very interesting with the other states shutting down, and there's quite a few Illinois guys. I kind of wonder if some of them are going to try to do a double dip and place a state in two different states, because Illinois is going April to May. So that'd be very interesting if someone jumps over here and then goes back over there. But Penn brought in 4 new kids.
Yeah, which it's like Penn's is weird though. Like it's not like what you would normally assume, right? Like you would assume like you kind of get that trickle down from Michigan. Um, it's not that at all. They got like a Texas kid and a South Carolina kid and 2 kids from Illinois.
Yeah. Um, Juan Grange from Texas was a state qualifier. He's gonna probably be 95 220 ish, maybe 82. I think is kind of where they
The
think.
rumor.
Yeah, the rumor. Brock Donati
You got
was
a real
the
tough guy at 95 that's going to be real hard to beat. So,
yes, yes,
and a real tough guy at 220 that's real tough to beat.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And then they got Brock Donati was a heavyweight out of Illinois. I think he was a sectional. I don't even know what I tried finding exactly what he was, but he looked like he's pretty solid. He came over with a couple kids from St. Charles that played football. So
He's a big kid. He's
yeah,
definitely a big kid.
yeah, he is a big dude. Mateo Vargo from South Carolina was a state champ last year. Um, that's it. South Carolina state champs. You don't know exactly how good. I think I have a mole that was in South Carolina last year and talked about him, told me a little bit about him, and said he's solid. We'll see how he does. He's going to improve in the pen room, obviously.
Yeah.
So, he'll be a contender there, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does. And then a real sneaky one is that Pate Easton from Illinois, about a 170 pounder. He was a state placer.
Yeah, I think he was a third placer. Did real well at preseason nationals. Did well at IPA.
Yeah, that was one we did not have in the preseason rankings. He is now in the rankings, so watch out for him. He's gonna add a little bit to the mix about at 170. Let's see what else is. Yeah, a couple in-state ones. The big one was Tyler Jones from Lawrence Central. He's back at Warren Central after placing 7th last year. Blaze Garcia made the move across the tracks.
Man, that's like one of those ones you want to be there for when Avon and Brownsburg wrestles, right?
Yeah,
that was Mr. Avon. He was the bell ringer.
Yes,
Young gun.
Yes, so
going to the pain train.
Tough. Man, what do you do with all that Avon gear? That's what I'm kind of curious.
Keep it right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's tough. I guess they still both wear black.
Yeah. So, a couple others that, let me see, I'm putting these on order so we can talk about them. Andrew Sinkovics from Culver Academy, he's back at Mishawaka. Brady Welch from Culver Academy is back in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. So that's going to be very interesting at Culver, who 2 years ago would have been probably, I mean, you'd have thought about it, they'd be contending for a pretty high trophy. They'd have two state title contenders and two others that are at least in the top 4 projected, and Sinkovics is probably a placer if he's not hurt, or at least a qualifier low placer. So
oh yeah, that's been tough for those guys. I mean, it's a unique situation. I mean, the Culver Academy is kind of different. It's different, like you go there, you live there, things like that. So I'm sure it's tough, man. I couldn't imagine like sending my kids next year, my oldest next year, to go live away from her family.
Yeah, even if it is somewhere like Culver, which is what, an hour and a half, 2 hours, mate, probably about an hour and a half from you. Not that far,
yeah.
but yeah.
No, it's not that far. But, and those kids are coming from Ohio, so
yeah.
Yeah, the in-state stuff, not as much this year, right? There wasn't as much couple here or there, but nothing crazy. Like not a ton like it normally is.
Yeah, at least that we know of as of now. Who knows
Yeah,
at this point? But yeah,
Butts from Roncalli went. He's at a different school. Sam Allen was he a heavyweight state semi-state guy for Brown County? He's at Franklin now, which good move for him. Like obviously, if you're a big guy, wrestling for Jim Tante is always a good thing.
Yeah. He was, I want to say like Brown County. Yes, I got. Oh, geez, that's another Illinois kid. You got a lot of Illinois kids.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I'm sure. Like a lot of these guys don't want to lose this season. I think there was some rumors of some other Illinois kids coming over also.
Yeah. Sergio Lemley, he is back in Indiana. He's at Chesterton, where he originally was, and was at Mount Carmel last year, won a state title. He's going to be one. Yeah. That's going to be fun to watch because he's going to be right in the mix of. He's going to go after. He's going to have to go after a state champ. So there's going to be 2.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be 120. Yeah. I heard today that he's going to be 120. What a good kid too, man. Like he's just a real good, nice kid.
Yeah. I had a good interview with him. He was really quiet. It was hard to get, much out of him. Even though a little bit. Like, so what do you do? Oh, I just worked hard and run a wrestling tournament. He was pretty quiet and stuff. So
just a good dude, like probably like obviously we did a lot of stuff for the region coming up, and it wasn't a kid that I was ever gonna be like, oh, just a really nice unassuming kid. Then you just find out he's out there killing kids, man. It's awesome. He's a
Yeah,
really nice kid. The kid Robert Majors at Carmel, a real tough kid also.
yeah, he's real tough. He'll be at what 60 probably. Um,
Yeah, I think right in that area. I mean, depending. I mean, obviously, Ed's done a nice job. The whole staff. Ed has a good staff over there, right in that weight area where those guys are good.
yeah,
Javon Estrada for Crown Point, a medalist coming in. Not a bad get for those guys, right in that same area with Mendez and Goodwin and Cruz.
yeah. Yeah, Major has a real good younger brother too, from what I've heard. He has a little brother that I guess, according to the inside sources, he's legit. So I think he is an eighth grader. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, I
So
was just in that area, Fishers and Carmel area last weekend for a softball tournament. Man, it's so nice over there.
yeah,
Um, why wouldn't you want to move in that area? You
yeah,
got Top Golf. We were over there doing some Top Golf last year. Drove right by it.
yeah. Oh yeah, they got an IKEA. They have
Yeah, they got an
a
IKEA.
Portillo's. They have all sorts of things over there. So
What
hey,
was the place you guys went to brunch at? Like not another broken egg or something? Another broken egg. That place is pretty good. So not
nice.
not bad. They got the Finch Creek indoor facility where we played. We did a college showcase there.
Yeah,
So
that
really
looked really
nice
cool
area.
there.
Yeah, it was really did a ton of basketball, man. So sounds like that area's gonna start being really good at basketball too. Kids
They
going
better
to
if
all
they have all
that.
that stuff for basketball and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, it's interesting, and I see some of the comments like, yeah, Chesterton's gonna make East Chicago fun. Chesterton has some really good guys that can make a run at like a state title because they can get a lot of medals and that with the individual side. But a team like Penn, like how they're stacked up top, and like Crown Point, like Crown Point's pretty stacked through the whole lineup. But you get some of these teams that are stacked low, and then Penn stacked up top. It'd be interesting. Some of the weights for Penn also, they have some really good younger guys that are freshmen that have been in their program that are coming in and could make a pretty good impact for those guys also. So
yeah, they have a
East
younger Harp.
Chicago should be pretty fun.
Yeah, they have a younger Harper and stuff. So yeah, that
Yeah, that um, Bryce Denton's a really good kid. I think on their track, I think they had him at 106, which I think I had him at 13 for the state rankings when the preseason book came out. But if he's a 6 pounder, I think he's going to be right in the mix. Six could have a lot of really talented freshmen in there.
yeah,
Center Grove's a team. I think that we talked about their football that they have a really good amount of younger guys that are going to be in that lineup to go with like the Drake Buchanans and the Alaskan Assassin and those guys. I think Coach Swain, this is like the year that I always felt like, because I think Coach Swain does a great job, but this could be the year that those guys make some noise and going forward. But it's going to be tough because that area is tough, man. Brownsburg's going to be really good going forward also.
yeah. That's gonna be that that regional is just not getting any easier. They almost need
No.
this. I mean, that's like that's a mini state tournament. That sectional and regional.
Yeah. And then I mean not to like I mean obviously it's because not because of the coaching things, but you have a guy that could make a real impact in there that's not on a team that I know of. Maybe he is in KT Nelson that we didn't see for a year. Lost to Sergio Lemley 2 years ago at IPO. Comes back, we don't see it for a year. Comes back and makes a run to the finals of the IPO this year. You know,
Yeah, that is. Yes, they set me up right here in the Superdome. It's the Plex, and I have you look who I have right here. My guy, Troy
Mr.
Hahn.
Handsome himself.
Yes, that's why I picked that picture. I mean, I had to pay royalties, but I mean, it's worth it. So
Um,
yeah, so others that are coming into the state, Ison Robinson's a heavyweight that's at Snyder. It's real good at football. Um, Pretty solid heavyweight. And you got Blake Byerly from Alabama, who was fourth. Was he fourth last year? I think Nick just
I
put
think
it
so.
in
As
as an
an
eighth
eighth grader.
grader. He is going to be moving to East Know where he's originally from, I guess. So that should be interesting. We have you don't usually hear about Alabama or South Carolina wrestling, so you'll see how good those guys are. Obviously, placing state as an eighth grader, that's nice, pretty good accomplishment. I don't care what state it is. Then you got
And the Fort Wayne semi-state is just kind of like an Alabama state tournament, anyways. So he should do
oh,
fine.
not at some of the weights. Have you not seen like how we just
I
all
know.
returning state qualifiers? There's like a memo that gets sent out. If you're a returning state qualifier, please enter your weight at 152 pounds. Like Reeve Muncy's
Yeah.
going 180, 152 because that's where all the state placers have to go.
See
Muncy
that.
and Herb are both cutting down.
I don't. Yes, I'm always no, because heavyweight's really good. And they're like, you know what? If we're all 220s, let's all be heavyweights now. So
Yes.
yeah, no, Fort Wayne does do that. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I always wonder why, but sorry, man. I stole some of your thunder there. Go ahead.
No.
So Bryce
Byerly, and then a couple other late ones that we found. Jack Coyle was a third place medalist, and then Hunter Helson, he's going to Portage. And then Lake Shendro, Hunter Helson, about a 132 pounder, I think, he was a state qualifier last year, so that one's a new one. I saw that was lurking in the rankings. I'm like, who's this guy that you already have projected in the middle of the pack? I'm like, huh. So I had to confirm that. So yeah, a lot of out of state transfers, and don't be surprised if I know there are some Wisconsin kids that were looking to possibly head to Indiana. There's a rumor, and I think it was pretty strong rumor. It wasn't just a rumor. They were actually looking into it, and if states start getting shut down and we're still going, Ohio seems like it's a mess with all this stuff. So I'm surprised we haven't had any Ohio kids or.
Yeah, that's Michigan. I think is like the big one, right? Like if Michigan were to shut things down, which they've had it pretty bad. I know like some of their stay-at-home orders have been pretty tough. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of those guys kind of, make their way into that South Bend, Fort Wayne area.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of surprised some of the Michigan kids haven't either, because especially that Michiana, right over the border there's a lot of kids that, that's a real good area for Michigan, I think. So, Ohio seems to be they're going pretty strong with football. So it's going to be interesting if we keep going. Who knows if people are going to head over our way, if they think that we're going to have more of a season. Obviously, it's a big commitment to do that. Something like that is to, uproot your family or put your kid in an apartment at, 16, 17 years old to wrestle for a year. I don't know if I'd trust my kids I don't know how many of my wrestlers I could trust in an apartment by themselves.
I think I raised them right, man. They'll do it.
Yeah. You can send them to Kentucky to wrestle or play softball, or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not even trying to send them to Culver Military Academy and give them a better life.
So yeah, so that's all the transfers. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about rankings. There's one weight class I kind of wanted to talk about. I don't know if we figured that out yet, but 132 has a few good, decent wrestlers.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like moving some things around. I think it's even tougher.
There are 14 returning state medalists that are in the weight class. 14.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's and that's gonna be just ugly there. With Heath, Wagner, Pearson, Montgomery, Gavin Allstott, who's someone you cannot forget about, Christian White, Alec Freeman, Ben Dalton, Cole Salami. Oh, moving somebody.
Yeah, I just went to Chase Alexander. Someone told me he's going 38.
Okay, so
that's just one of the medals, but one.
Yes,
but I also moved Nam Doan into there. So
yeah, so there is just a crazy amount of that weight class is going to be. That's and we all know why it's happening. There's no secret. Well, obviously,
it's happening for two parts, right?
Yeah, yeah. Who wants to wrestle Zeke Seltzer? I don't think anybody wants to. He's pretty darn tough. And then at 126. Then 38, you have Jesse Mendez. So you definitely don't want to go there if you're trying to win a state title. So
Right, but I think that speaks to like the kind of the depth in those areas with those guys. You know, like those guys believe that they can win a state title, so go to 32 and then be in contention. But those guys aren't scrubs. It's not like, oh man, I'm going to 32. Like it's just gonna be a layup. No, there's still a lot of really tough wrestlers in there.
yeah, you look at guys that I just look at 32 and we're doing the rankings and stuff, and it's like, holy cow, that's gonna be. I mean, Friday night matches ups are just gonna be ugly. And then I did put together a little bit of what kind of potential ticket round matches are we seeing, and there's some big ones. So we could get a few guys knocked out there, unfortunately, if we get the right ticket rounds.
Oh yeah, man. It's. I mean, some of that'll work itself out. Also, like some of those guys are gonna be trying to pull a little bit more weight. Like you get some optimism, some early optimism.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna make this weight. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I seen you were wrestling 60 last week. Well, I'm gonna be at 26. I'm like, I don't know if it works like that anymore, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah. Well, especially now that this year it's been so weird because we didn't get all the off season events, so you can get a gauge on where kids were weighed and where they were going, and all of a sudden this fall it's been a scramble to see who's at what weight, and some kids are they're IPO, it was, oh yeah, I'm gonna go 113, and then they get a week out and they're like, nah, I'll be 126. They forget that how to cut weight, or they just aren't in that mindset yet. So
yeah, it's tough.
126. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not easy.
No. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun weight to watch, and there'll probably be some guys that might sneak up, go up a weight or down a weight. I don't think anyone's going to go down, but who knows what goes on here. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. There's going to be a lot of good matches. And, I mean, not often do you get that double-digit state placers coming back at a weight class. So, and then you have guys that are state qualifiers that are outside the rankings. AJ Gunn's the lone non-state qualifier in the rankings right now.
I think that he could have qualified for state last year, but was injured, right?
Yeah. I think it was I think he won. Did he win freshman, sophomore?
He's tough, man.
Yeah.
He's definitely tough.
So
I think, I mean, there's some other ways like that where, like, you have some guys up top that are just like, holy smokes, man. Like you're like hoping to get the season in because you want to see some of these matchups. We talked about earlier with Sergio transferred into Indiana, a guy like Sergio and possibly Cotty, who's been under the lights every single year,
Yeah.
Or, we ranked him in the preseason magazine at 26, or I did, not we. At 26, but like even a Sergio and Zeke Seltzer would have been an exciting match. But that Drake Ella match, I think, really showed like how tough Zeke is,
Oh yeah.
Like not just in like an Indiana level. Like obviously, it used to be very much where like we would say, well, our guys can whoop everybody, and then they'd go do some national stuff, and they wouldn't place. But now we're getting some guys that are really good, that are doing well, and it's kind of been stacking over the years. I think I was just talking to someone that a guy that wrestled in the early '90s, and he was like, yeah, like, and he's kind of the same thing because back in the day, a lot of people were like, when I wrestled, it was like unreal, and it's like, nah, the state's like way better right now than it's ever been. And it's a lot of guys are coming back and they just stacking it. Like the teams that were good were guys that were coming back that had wrestled in good college programs, and they taught you to train like a good college kid, and those teams did better. Ed Pendosky, at Portage, Dave Maldonado was an Iowa State guy, and those guys had a lot of success. And then now you're getting some even All Americans and things coming back and showing guys and like, hey, that's how you could be really good. So it's pretty interesting. Like, just stacking it like. The teams that were good were guys that were coming back that had wrestled in good college programs. And they taught you to train like a good college kid. And those teams I lost my comments.
You lost your comments? Oh
no, I got on a tangent about how to get better. I guess. What did Nick say? I don't want those guys in the rankings.
Yeah. Well, he said to switch them with their weights. It sounds like
Uh,
you can't read the comments because we get too distracted. Quit commenting, people.
no, I like it.
No, no. Um, yeah, no, that's the coaching.
Weimer's gonna go. Okay, nice. I like the switch on that.
Yeah, the yeah, like we were saying, uh, the coaching is getting a lot better. I think overall the state has been getting a little bit better in overall wrestling wise with coaching and athletes. We're seeing a lot more of our guys getting nationally ranked and stuff like that. So obviously we're having some more academies. Coaches are a little less worried about sending their kids to the academies and things like that. So I know there's still a little bit of pride and all that stuff of getting your kids to, these are my kids and I don't want them to be trained by Mike Reiser because I train them and things like that. So I think
And I think and the academies are good. Like you have some really good coaches there.
yeah, and I know they're making a lot of hay this off season because all the schools were shut down. I even know Anton Talamantes does some stuff around here, and it was about the only place you could go. And I know he was doing real good and had a lot of kids in, and some of my kids were going there and stuff. And the high school coaches were kind of handcuffed, and you know those academies were the only places you could go. So they, the kids that wanted to work, they went and found a place to train. So that was, which is good. So yeah, kind of, we have two weight classes where there's going to be probably two state champs battling it out. You got, like we said, 120 is going to be Cotty and Lemonley. That should be a good one. Kind of interesting. You got
Yeah,
contrast of styles. Cotty's kind of a bully. Gonna beat you up. He'll try to punch. I mean, the South Side Perry Meridian style. Gonna punch you in the face. Gonna try to headlock you. They're not gonna. I mean, if I think it's a rule that if they don't try at least one headlock in a match, they have sprints or something. And then you got Lemley, who's
he's a nice kid too.
yeah, he has a nice mullet. No,
That mullet is pretty good.
yeah. So, and you got Lemley, who's kind of a technician, guy's real slick on the mat and stuff. So that's gonna be an interesting matchup. And
Yeah,
I hope maybe we get it beforehand. I don't know if we will, because obviously we were thinking we might see that Al Smith, but sadly we won't. So bad thing is we're probably not gonna see a lot of the good matchups that we always kind of think we're gonna see. So that's gonna be kind of a downer, but we'll have stuff to talk about still.
yeah. We can fill 2 hours with this nonsense. We haven't even barely wrestled now. We're 1 hour and 24 minutes in.
Yes. So yeah, and then 138. Borman says that's my weight class, and says Jesse, you're coming to my weight class. That's good. Borman's tough as nails. I mean, and I think he's kind of under the radar as far as when you talk about the top guys in our state a little bit. I mean, he's placed second, third, and first. So, and the time he placed third, he had one knee, one leg.
Yeah.
So
And that was a match at IPO 2 years ago in the semifinals. That was a really good match.
no,
I think Jesse ended up winning by major, but there was a lot of really like high level scrambles in there.
that was a quarterfinal match, actually.
Quarterfinal match.
Yeah, they
Bad ranking.
yeah, bad seating. Borman took him
Bad
down
seating.
first, didn't he? From what I remember, from
I'm
what I
not.
heard.
Yeah, it was good. I think they really just did a good job of just like setting the pace.
Yeah, so that's I mean, both are great kids and great wrestlers. So that'd be, you know, you got to give Borman some credit for not running, not going up to 45, not going down to 32, which he said he's a 33 pounder for college. So obviously, 32 is probably something he could make on a regular basis if he's going to plan on doing that in college. So, you know,
And
got a
he's
college,
not committed anywhere right now.
he committed to Tennessee Chattanooga.
Oh, okay, nice.
So, so he's not getting too far away, but that's a solid school. They have some good stuff there.
Yeah, I just seen Purdy's older sister committed there to play softball.
Oh, nice. So, any other weights you want to talk about? I think 45 is going to be pretty solid.
Oh man, I think all the weights. It's crazy how like the depth at the top that's like really starting to show.
Yeah, definitely.
We can literally go through like ton of weights, but like you said, like 45. Um, That's a good weight. I think 52 is really good. I mean, you're top six are medalists.
Yeah.
60's tough. Just across the board, I think a lot of those weight classes that you're getting multiple state medalists at the top, where, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't really stacking like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be, a lot of good guys in here, and definitely some interesting matches gonna be coming up. You know, and yeah, all the weights have some pretty good have some really good storylines in each of the weights, which is good to see. And a lot of matches you're kind of looking forward to seeing. Um, 220 Bates and Roman, that should be very interesting. Roman,
Man, I mean,
Roman's
Bates could
big.
make 95. How crazy would that be if you have Bates and you have Carroll and Pack coming out of the same semi-state? Carroll and Pack coming out of the same regional. That could be a tick-around match.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, like I think Bates fits their lineup better at 220 with DeMarco, but I mean, he's already committed. Like, nothing's stopping him from saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna go find some tough matches."
yeah, definitely. That could, I mean, he definitely can. He made 95 and he weighed like a little over 200 for IPO. So 95 is not a cut for him. 95 is where he's gonna wrestle 97 in college. He's not a heavyweight by any, from what I can tell.
Oh, but
So
I don't think. Do you think Carroll would be? I think Carroll's not gonna have weight in college either. He's kind of short, right?
yeah, Carroll's real short. I mean, he could
Like
almost,
5'8".
yeah, I'd almost say he could almost be a 82 pounder maybe. I mean, I know there was some. He was actually trying to make. He was trying to make 89, or at least he was registered for 89. Actually, 82. Sorry for IPO, or not for
Don't run,
for Super 32. He was
don't
registered.
run too much weight, man.
Yeah,
You're getting strong, man. Dude's in there.
yeah. So that should be very interesting to see where he. I mean, yeah, and he's pretty short, so that's going to be interesting to see his. He's a tough style matchup, just that short, stocky, and knows how to wrestle, all
Oh,
that stuff. So, yeah. And then you got heavyweight. You got Fort Wayne, top two there. So that's always a
yeah,
good sign to see, right?
and yeah, and Herb had an awesome IPO.
Yeah,
Beat some really tough.
he put on the COVID 40.
He needed to though. He was
Yeah,
small, like not for life. Not for
no,
life. He wasn't small, but like for for the weight, like
yes,
the weight, he wasn't a big kid.
yeah,
I'm glad that he's because he will if he decides to wrestle in college. He'll be a heavyweight. He's not
yeah,
going to 97.
yeah, no, yeah, and he was all of 280, and he still looked like he moved. I mean, obviously, Reeve wrestled him twice last year, so I obviously got to see him a lot. Um, moved really well as a blowed up 220, basically. Um, but he moves just as well when he added those 40 pounds. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup with him and Reeve, obviously. Definitely
Because the
looking
kid
forward
he
to that.
beat there was he a nationally ranked kid? The kid that he beat for IPO?
There was a nationally ranked kid in there, but I'm going to default to say that was a bad ranking. There's some
There's
kids
no
in the
such thing as a
national
bad
rankings that weren't that good.
as a ranker. There's no such thing as a bad ranking, just bad matches.
Yes. Yeah, that's uh if you watch the Willie trials, there's some it was very interesting. The Flow is suing Willie and all that stuff. So they asked what the secret sauce to rankings was, and there really wasn't. And kind of, I've done my fair share of rankings, and I know kind of Mike's process and stuff. And there's really no secret sauce other than someone just knows what they're doing. And it's hard to tell. It's your brain. Having
It's pretty tough.
connections. Yeah, it's having connections and people that'll tell you what's going on and who's really there. So not gonna BS you.
Yeah, and having a good memory. I think having a good memory helps.
Yeah. So any other weights you want to talk about? I think looks like you've been playing around with rankings. Might be seeing an update this Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we could do. I try to like update it as I get information, just because you want to see where it falls. Like the one of the weirdest thing about doing it is like when you move, like a guy like a weight class, and someone says, "Hey, you're gonna move this kid here, and you're like, okay, and I just move it and just say, okay, it fits it here. The numbers almost are close. I mean, obviously, if you jump, different weight classes are going to be different things, but um, there's a ton of just like talented kids, and even some of the guys that are like multiple time state qualifiers are guys that I felt that could have been medalists along the way at any point, right?
Yeah.
Like 82 has Aiden Warren, Drake Buchanan, Gabe Solers is making a jump, Flipovich, those guys, those four medalists. The Johnny Parker has been around forever. He was a Triple Crown winner in middle school. He's had, struggled to get in that lineup because that lineup just, it has so much depth. You're going to have a guy like Gavin Lehman. John Purdy's a guy I talked about earlier, his sister going to Tennessee Chattanooga. But as a middle schooler, that guy had unreal results and had a really good year last year, lost to the semi-state. Kwiatkowski, a two-time state qualifier. Grange, an incoming guy. Leo Calderon, I believe that he was the freshman-sophomore state champ. Jacob Simpson, a really good wrestler. Clayton Lundy. Seth Willems was a freshman-sophomore state champ. Bryce Buckley, a state qualifier from 2 years ago, and Griffin Eisen has been around. And that's just like a weight class where and it was just the one that I was on. But there's a lot of talented guys in there. A lot of guys that have wrestled for a long time where, a guy like Griffin Eisen, I bet he has multiple ISWAs. He's number 16,
Yeah. I think Will Nix from Martinsville is pretty tough. I think he was hurt last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Been right in the mix. I think he wrestled Leper at freshman sophomore a couple years ago.
So, and I think part of like the interesting part is going to be where some of the weight class really end up falling to where I thought we were going to be based on some results. I know there's been some smaller events going on where guys were able to wrestle, but then like some of the guys that are coming in incoming freshmen, they're going to be tough. There's always a level of that's going to be like, who can contend right away, like right out the bat, and I know a guy like Center Grove has like 4 or 5 kids that are right in that mix that I think are really tough. But the kid from Floyd Central, and I think he's going to end up at 45. Hunter May, a lot of people say he's like the real deal, that he's going to be a really tough wrestler. And that's a guy that can get in the mix and kind of go with some of those guys. And he's a pretty highly rated freshman. But it'd be interesting to see with him, like with Reynolds, if Reynolds goes to 52. Hayden Watson had one of the better off seasons than anybody in the state going forward. Cody Goodwin's a guy that didn't compete last year, but has done nothing but like kill people on the over the summer, right? Yeah. Like pinned Chacon. I want to say he pinned Matt Kuntz. Like he's just a guy that is really good. And he was highly ranked last year, lost a season. Had to beat a state medalist to get a spot at 45 in their rest loss for Crown Point. So it'll be tough, man. It's gonna be a tough year, and I think that like anything over the whole year, it's so unpredictable. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good storylines, a lot of good. Looking at 45, looking at 82, and all those, a lot of good matches to see, and there's just. It's going to be interesting, especially, considering, unfortunately, you might get, hopefully no one gets quarantined or, test positive right before the state series, but that's going to be definitely something that we're going to be hearing about. Kids are getting hit, and, I'm just going to tell my kids to live in a bubble during the state series. 2 weeks before the state series. Yeah.
Thanks, Dane. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see how people handle that, and then also to that, like, there is like a level of like uncertainty to it. You have no clue. There's no one can control that, and that's tough, man.
Yeah, that's definitely. Unfortunately, it's the times we're in. I hope we have. I want to have a state tournament. Hopefully, we can have a lot of fans in there, at least a few thousand. Obviously, I'm gonna take a strong bet, and we're not gonna have a full house like we usually do. But hopefully, we can get a decent number of fans to make it loud. Heck, either that or just bring it to Carroll. We'll have state finals at Carroll, and we'll get real loud there.
Well, even that, like, and Like I know you had posted something like, hey, like make sure you follow. I don't remember what your post was the other day, but it was true. Like if you follow the rules, maybe we can get this taken care of. But the IHSAA and all that has done a really nice job of putting some like media platforms together for it. Like at the state finals, you won't miss a match because they have track going. And
Yeah.
any match you want to watch, and if you buy access to it, you can go back and watch it. You own it forever, right? And then they do the live broadcast with Maurer and Gable, and I think that's also an awesome like broadcast where if you're not there, there's going to be avenues for you to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing, we've heck, even Ohio doesn't even stream their state finals. They don't live stream them. You have to be there to watch any of their matches, which is like it's absurd to think of in 2020 that you're not streaming there. I think they were supposed to stream it this year. They actually was going to be on track, but I was like, you got to be kidding me. You don't stream your state finals because I know Hayden Lee wrestled there a few years ago, more than a few years ago, but about 7, 8 years ago. So I was like,
Yeah, so I think
following. Yeah, yeah. He's almost 30 now. But yeah,
yeah,
but trying to follow that is like I had to refresh this one web page and update it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I go, this is the state finals. You need to be streaming this, and that's one thing I give the IHSA a lot of credit for. Kind of being, I guess, on the cutting edge. I mean, we're streaming for a while. We've been streaming for a while, which is good.
yeah, and luckily I get to be a part of some of that stuff. You know, um, RSN's gave me an opportunity to do that, and they do a lot of like local stuff too. And in a sport where you're not getting a lot of media coverage all the time, like the newspaper's kind of fading, and not just for wrestling, but like in general. But like Indiana Matt's done a nice platform for articles where guys are getting stuff, and then we do some live events, which has been pretty cool for those guys. I'm sure like there's people we get people all the time that are from across the country, like watching from Pennsylvania, watching from Florida, and it's like, man, you never you don't ever think about it, but like you're saying negative things sometimes,
Yeah, yeah,
about that.
yeah. No, that's
Dane
it's
out
a
here trash. Dane's out here trashing the IHSA for charging for semi-states.
yeah. Oh, you got to make money somehow. Hopefully, they're giving
Yeah,
some
get
of
the
that back to
ticket
the
prices back, man.
yeah. Hopefully, they're giving some of that back to the schools that are losing their butts on concessions and gates and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we I'm surprised we had a football season. I mean, I even know some of my kids were saying watch from Kentucky. I'm surprised you guys have internet in Kentucky.
I'm sure, like, and Ben Kevin's like one of those guys that's been getting a lot of teams going. I see him posting all the time. They've been going everywhere, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
For because they were like one of the first facilities to get back open. I thought.
yeah. I know one of my kids, Oric, went few places with them and stuff. So it was pretty, nice to see him get out there getting matches and being able to go. And obviously, it's a little bit easier with the dual teams to be able to get rides and all that stuff because they were traveling around the state, around the country. I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's like one of those things, like you know, like a service that people don't really look at all the time is like getting all that stuff going.
yeah.
Uh, Did you charge a lot of people to get into the IPA? Did you double charge them 25 per ticket or what?
No,
To
it
get
was
in the
ten
dome?
bucks, same as it's been. So that one hurt a little bit because obviously that's where we make a little bit of money is our gate and not having only having two fans or two spectators per athlete kind of hurt us a little
It was
bit.
tough, right?
Yeah, luckily the
A lot of people
streaming
want
picked up.
tickets. People were asking me to get them tickets. I couldn't do it, man. I don't have that kind of sway.
No,
Not in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I had to
Like
follow
not a
some
negative
rules.
way. I wish I could. I would have loved to. I mean, I would have loved to gone, but I chose to not go.
Yeah, no,
Would you let me in hindsight?
probably you're you're
Media
special.
credentials.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, I know every county, every school has different different fan things. It's funny, you like see like some schools are allowing 4 fans per athlete, and then like some are not, like no fans at all, and things like that. So it's gonna week to week, what who's gonna allow fans and stuff.
It's tough, man. What's crazy is like there's like some fans and there's like he used to be on the board all the time. He's not as much anymore. Like Dune fan from Crown Point, right?
Hmm.
Like he's an older him and his twin brother, like older guys, and they just love to go and support Crown Point Wrestling and like under those like regulations, they're not gonna be able to go. And I think like Dane said the bar was low. He got in. Stop. But those are things that you don't think about, like, because I know those guys probably like love it. They look forward to it. Obviously, like they're going to every event.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of sad. I mean, I know we have a pretty good following at Carroll, and we have a lot of alumni and parents from kids that graduated that come to all our matches. So it's going to be interesting. I know the parents, obviously, they're like, "How are we gonna? It'll be streamed, and you'll just be yelling at the computer now." So
Yeah.
we
great time for officials, right?
Yeah, we need to pipe in crowd noise or something for our kids.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I didn't think about that because there's like a lot of people that go there, like people's parents or grandparents, which probably you're the most high at risk, but that's how they want to live, man.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. So
do you have to prepay now? Is like, do they take money at the door?
I it's by school. I know there's some schools that they'll give you a voucher that you can, I guess, you pay at the door to give, for each roster athlete or whatever. I think.
How'd you do it? I like when people ask me, like how we did it, at IPO, and I'm like, like, so how did you guys handle that? Oh man, I got the Wi-Fi password and got the track code and watched it on my TV at the house.
Yes. Yeah, what we did, which was, it was hard to kind of figure out, but they put down the names of the people, and then we had a list, and you had to mark them off. Kind of a little old-fashioned, but it was about the best way we could have done it without trying to pay for a third-party app for tickets and stuff. And then they got a badge, and it had different stickers for each session that they're allowed to be in.
Did you have my boy Chris Riddle at the door with the earpiece in and a suit?
No, I didn't.
I should
have had him doing that.
Chris Riddle does some really good posts on the message board, man.
Yes, he does. Always likes to stoke has some outside the box posts, thinking of events and things like that. It's always good to have someone like that. Other than one of us, creating that kind of discussion. I know the board's starting to pick up a little bit. It's been down a little, obviously this off season, there's not much to talk about. And
we can't complain about as much stuff.
Yeah, yes.
WZBD can be broadcasting every Belmont AC match. Yes. Those guys do a good job. I like those guys.
Yep, they have their Monday night, the High School Wrestling Weekly. They need a cool name like the Dane and Rex Show.
Yeah.
But if you check that out on our podcast, usually I upload it like Tuesday evening, early Wednesday.
I'm not gonna lie. The one we went down there, I was trying to get this like special at the Double Eagle. They didn't have it that night.
I know. I guess. Hey, we're gonna be going. I mean, I don't know if you're going. I assume you're gonna try to come again for the.
I wasn't invited.
You weren't invited yet. They keep telling everyone we're all going. I mean, I never got my formal invite.
So. What day is it? The 28th of February? I'll be there. Maybe right there at the hospital.
What did he say? Is the 20th, December 20th.
All right. Right on Christmas. Me and Nick, I'm gonna tell you, me and Nick drove back and we had like a real heart to heart. I think Nick needs another one. Watching his Facebook page, and he might need another heart to heart.
Yes. No, that was a good time, and I definitely I'm looking forward to it. It's always a good. See, we'll be tied for 3 times on the show, so we gotta. Me and you are both in a competition for how many guest appearances we're gonna have.
So. I know I did the state finals and the team state one. I'll do it again. I like those guys. Those guys do a good job.
Yep. Yeah. So tune in if you guys. I think tune in radio app. You can WZBD. Dana, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it starts at 7 on Mondays. I always have good stuff. They always talk good stuff, like last stuff.
All those guys
Check
are
it out.
knowledgeable.
Yeah,
Dane has a ton of knowledge, man.
yeah. So I always listen. I always try to tune in to it, and if not, I'll listen to it at work or during work after I get it downloaded on the podcast. So check that out. If you guys want to listen to us, you can also listen to us on our podcast on iTunes and Google and anywhere you get podcasts. I think you can get the Indiana Matt Show, so you can go back and listen to old shows.
I think I commented one time Dane was going to take Collins. I was going to be like, "Hey, long time listener, first time caller. It's Mike from the region. How's it going, guys?"
that'd be fun. Definitely need to
Yeah.
call in. So, I guess we're gonna start probably going every Sunday, at least as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's usually a
Make
pretty
it
good
happen.
day, unless something big happens. Maybe we'll jump on. I know Mike's still doing all the softball stuff he can.
It doesn't stop, man. It doesn't stop.
Yeah. So plan on us on Sundays, and then if you guys have any article ideas, we got to get some articles out for our guys, for Steve and Jeremy. They do a great job with our articles. We got to start getting those out. If you have any ideas, any cool stories, I mean, they don't have to be state qualifiers or anything, just a good story out there, send it to us.
Yeah.
I always like to, become a fan of a random kid out of Boonville or something. It's always neat to hear a story about a kid, overcoming, Lane Gilbert's story last year was awesome.
Yeah, it
Definitely
was.
was a kid. I mean, I know after reading that, I kept my eye on him, and especially at state, made sure, watch him and see how he did. And it was, kind of neat to see, kids with stories like that overcome a lot of odds. And obviously he's a good wrestler on top of that. So,
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's a ton of that, like especially not unfortunately. A lot of times that happens, you get like a lot of the same programs, but you get a kid from like Sullivan who we haven't done a lot of articles about, which was really cool. I know Marion a couple of years ago, just different things here or there.
yeah. So if you guys have an article, send that to me and we will get that posted. So, anything else, Mike, before we do our first episode is over an hour and a half, almost 2 hours long.
I know. Nah, I mean, I think someone asked like, I thought about Hammond Gavitt. I like Hammond Gavitt last year at the school, but they have some talented kids. I think those guys do a really good job. I don't know. I was trying to like keep up with all this stuff. Eric Spice got a softball tournament that week, man. I don't think we have one that week. But
Not yet.
I don't know. It's obviously it's one of those things like you go across the thing. It's good to have it back. This feels normal, like doing Sunday nights, talking wrestling. I know this is kind of a slower week with Thanksgiving coming up. Hopefully, everyone has a good Thanksgiving. I think that's always a time, especially this year with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much if you're a wrestler, or if you're someone from like Homestead. Make sure you eat a lot so you don't make weight next Wednesday. Afterward. So, yeah. Oh, and for Elkhart combines this year. I mean, you said that.
Yeah.
That should be an interesting team. I know they interesting. Trying to keep up with the stats and like history and stuff. They actually determined that they're just going to be a brand new school. So, because it used to be Elkhart, and then it split into Central and Memorial, and all the records went with Central, all the past like Elkhart records. And so then I was talking to their coach and stuff, and they said technically we're in brand new school, so all records are clear. So whoever qualifies for state this year for them will be technically their first state qualifier of that school, technically, but not technically.
So. And they kind of had like a good run in football too.
Yeah, they did. They went to semi-state. So, but anyway, if you guys have any article ideas, send them to me. We're excited to get season kicked off, and hope everyone stays safe and stays out of the queue.
Just stay out of the queue.
So,
Or if you get paid to stay in the queue, stay in the queue, man.
yes, yes, I'm working from home.
If you're
I'll do it.
if you're not a wrestler or a coach, you're just a guy hanging out watching the show because you enjoy talking wrestling. Maybe you get in the queue, get to stay home, get paid.
Yep. So with that, we're gonna let you guys go, and we'll be back next Sunday.